Welcome back, everybody, to the Shut the Front Door podcast. This is the Real Talk podcast about real estate and all other fun, entertaining, and edgy stories happening in your neck of the woods in the Ohio Valley. I am Johnny Kazemka with Harvey Goodman Realtor, a.k.a. Johnny Realtor, and with me, as always, Scott Connors.
How are we doing today, my man?
Doing good if I can get through these intros without stumbling over myself.
You'd think by now I'd get it right.
Yeah. It's a prerequisite before we have a successful episode.
I love it.
Anyways, what do we got today? I do the intro, you do the intro, or the.
I introduced the episode.
That's right.
So today I thought we would share some of our better stories, right? Mm-hmm. One thing about being in this business for a while is you always end up with a lot of stories. Mm-hmm. Just when you think you've seen it all, there's something else that we didn't expect to see coming our way. But today I want to highlight those warm and fuzzy stories, the ones that really keep us going. What's this job really all about? We talked in our last episode about our core values. Mm-hmm. And, the number one thing we do is we try to get clients the outcome they're looking for, whether that's the best house they can buy for their money, whether it's, trying to get their home sold quickly, whatever they define the outcome, that's what we're shooting for. And so that's what today's about is I just want to kind of swap some stories about, hey, this one time and that other time. So tell me about one of your favorites from the past.
Oh, geez, there's so many to pick from, but so we're doing heartwarming today. So we've done some of the other, not so much in the past podcast. No, one that comes to mind because we were talking about this off screen for a little bit last year. So this isn't anything like we've been doing this for almost 30 years of experience between the two of us. Yeah. But last year, something this recent, Beth Gowdy, my fiance and one of our newest licensees, had a deal with a local lender, Debbie Starshak. Shout out to Deb with West Banco. That her buyer client was 8 months pregnant, 7.5 months pregnant when they met. They were basically about ready to pop, right? Yeah. They were approaching the end here. And they find a house over in Powhatan on Mount Victory Road that they really love, and they're good to go under contract, and everything's great. But Deb, out of nowhere, because, the financial side, we're sort of like the pro bono intermediaries between these points of contact. Deb comes out of nowhere and is just this unsung hero. We really need to sing her praises on this. She's able to discover $15,000 worth of grant assistance based off of them having the baby, right? Which is right. So
which is well underway at this point.
We actually ended up delaying the closing for that reason. So then we used birth certificate and everything else and saying, hey, there's a new occupant in the house, and Deb was able to get them a silent second mortgage in the form of a grant that will be, after they live there for the next couple of years, they're going to knock $15,000 off their house.
That's
like one of the craziest things. Who would have thought that even existed? Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Deb because and that's why working local matters too.
Yeah, super cool. So that's awesome. So you're right. Between us, we've been doing this almost 30 years, well over 1,000 transactions between us, maybe approaching 2,000 at this point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've seen a few things. I go back to one that was early in my career. I think it was 2009, the year I got licensed. Mm-hmm. Started working with a young mom. Her husband was in Iraq at the time in the military. And so we're out looking at some homes. I'm a brand new agent. And it turns out she couldn't get qualified. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of awful. She was kind of crushed by that. Fast forward about a year and a half, and her name pops up again. And so her husband's now back from Iraq. They've been working on their credit and their income, and now they're actually pre-qualified. So we get back on the horse and start looking at houses again. Mm-hmm. And ended up going under contract on a little house in Martins Ferry. Was $40,000. Mm-hmm. And the day of the closing, we did our final walkthrough. So we get to the house. We haven't closed yet, but we're going to do the walkthrough and then head to the closing table. And she tears up, and I'm thinking she's upset about something. And so I said, hey, puts everything okay? And she said, yeah, I just never thought I'd have a house this nice. Mm-hmm. And to think about that for a $40,000 house, this was like something they never thought they would achieve for a United States military veteran.
Sure.
That's one that hits home and I carry with me a lot. Also put some perspective in that, everyone's in a different place in life.
Right.
And just to really appreciate what we have, for that young couple, they never thought they'd have that. And so what a privilege it was to be a part of that story.
Right. How am I supposed to follow that?
I should save that to the end. I came out guns a-blazing.
I can't back that up. That's like the main act. No, that's fantastic. We love, especially when we have those stories, especially helping veterans just because of the service. And at least in my world, there's not that I don't love and help all the others, but especially when it's a veteran.
You're a first responder,
right?
I got a kid who's in the military, so yeah, of course it hits a little closer,
right? So that's all. But no, that's fantastic. I'm trying to think of a few others. I don't know that you would call this under heartwarming, but what about infestations? You ever had a heartwarming infestation? because I have.
Tell me more.
Oh, this is great. So you think infestation, right? Termites, you think powder beetles, carpenter bees, like all the nuisance. I had a guinea pig infestation once. Remember that?
Only you. So you come up with a guinea pig infestation.
This is 100% gospel truth.
Oh,
to strike
fantastic.
me dead. So over in Sun Valley in Glendale, maybe not through the most heartwarming circumstances, but there was a divorcing situation. And inside of that, we'll call it abandonment of rational thought, the husband had released the guinea pigs, the pair, into the backyard where there was a lush, thriving garden of tomatoes and cucumbers and everything else that you could possibly. And I don't know if you know much about the gestation period of guinea pigs, but it's
nothing about the gestation period of guinea pigs.
It is not exactly a long term. So 2 becomes 4, 4 become 8.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Could those guinea pigs each get a $15,000 grant from West
Maybe.
Bank?
Well, if we sent them over there to get pre-qualified, but we never tried. But after maybe 6 months, there was a guinea pig infestation where I swear to you, it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. You walk out the back door and all these guinea pigs just burst and ran out from the garden underneath the porch. And that
sounds adorable.
So that's one of my funniest, because you can't make it up, right? You're showing the house and everyone's like, "What the hell is this?" And like, I'm telling you, like probably every bit of 50 to 60 guinea pigs. I mean, they were just everywhere.
That's hysterical.
And so,
I love it. So another story that we get to do from time to time, and this always really hits home for me. And it almost feels like this is happening less and less as kind of our culture has changed. And that's when you've got the typically elderly client who's been in the home for 50 years, right? Maybe in some cases I've had people who were born and raised in the home, stayed there, and now after 50, 75, 100 years, they're going to sell the home for the first time. And for them, that's a big deal. Obviously, it's a difficult sale, a lot of emotion attached to it. I think of one in particular, and this was again several years ago. Client had a home in Dimmeydale in Wheeling. She was elderly, kind of a typical story. The kids had grown, left the home. Husband died. She had lived there for a few years by herself, but she absolutely loved this house, but really wasn't able to take care of a 2-story house with a big yard on her own anymore. Very reluctantly put it up for sale. I got to help her buy a little condo somewhere where she could be very comfortable. And, what I say to clients in that situation when they're struggling with letting go, number one, you don't want to keep the house if you can't take care of it.
Sure.
Nobody would want to see your home, your home you've loved
start to appreciate. Right? Yeah.
But also, get it sold to a new family who can start to make some new memories and let it be part of their story now too. And so it always means the world to me when I'm trusted with someone who has been in the home for so long, has so much emotional connection to it. For us, it's a transaction. It's an MLS listing and documents and all the other things that we do. For them, they're selling a piece of them in a way, and it's a massive life, life moment, right? And that just weighs very heavily on me, and I take it very, very seriously. I feel like it's just such a privilege to get there.
Yeah, and we both do. In fact, I was going to introduce these props later, but give me a second. Let me go off camera. Here's a small one. I'll pass that one to you. How seriously we take this? These go back to, 2009, even before. So these letters, we save every single one of these on here somewhere. If I can find it, there's Charlie's wedding. So bottom left-hand corner, you see that little image? And there has no name on that, right? You see that image down there?
Yeah.
That's from John Ball. I still remember these people. So that's back when I had hair. If you could see, I had a faux hawk that day, and his little girl drew a picture of me holding and she gave it to me with a little sticker here. I still have the sticker. That was Shady Side. I'm trying to think of the address, but I appreciated that.
That's awesome.
There's other things on here. So, just from all over the place. We save every single one of these. Every transaction is near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah. Now, what blows my mind about this is Johnny brings in a couple props. He's got his board he held up, and he gave me this one to hold up. But let the record reflect that these are all Johnny's thank you cards.
Oh, there's bets on there and there's text messages and but I save
There's not a Scott's on here.
There's got to be something.
What are you doing that I'm not doing to get all these thank you cards?
Yeah,
I think my people like me.
Yeah, there's. I don't know. Maybe it's.
I didn't follow you around for a day and figure out what you're doing better than I am.
No, but shout out to all of the clients that we work with over the years, and like I said, there's way too many stories to tell, ranging from the heartwarming side of things. We always like when, I always kind of joke that I don't want to be the person that's not sitting in the ER room right? The emergency room. I don't want to be the person that's actually being taken care of. I want to be the person in the emergency room, right? So we really don't get the heartwarming stuff until like when we do our job well, people don't know that we've done anything at all.
That's true.
Right? So we get to like tell these stories after we have to get into the trenches, and just problem solving stuff that, things that were seemingly impossible based off of, I don't know, someone else's opinion, appraisal issue, inspection issues or whatever. And then you jump in and you have to get someone to calm down. Like
we say it all the time. I'll see you work in a call, and obviously you're trying to figure something out or solve a problem, and it'll be like, trying to pull another rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, I mean, because
it's what we do sometimes.
Well, you hear it so often of like, these podcasts, hopefully they age well, but we say, it's always better to buy sooner than later because the market tends to grow and it's just going to be more difficult in the next few years. And you get those clients that sometimes will react aggressively towards the most minor of intrusions. When you hear the term reverse polarity, for example, and you don't know what that means, but when we get to, take our 30 years combined experience into help with that, especially first-time buyers.
Sure. And that's always a big deal too. One of the things that's common in our business is we're typically interacting with people at some sort of major milestone in their life, right? They got married, they got divorced, someone died, they're selling mom's house. I've got a listing right now for a lifelong friend of mine selling his parents' home. And it just means the world to get trusted with that, right? And all I want to do is take care of them and, make sure that legacy lives on. But so you find people often in a pretty emotional state with when they come to us. Sometimes it's financial hardship. They're losing the house or they need to sell it because they can't afford it anymore. The divorce thing is always tough. The flip side is, I've had a situation more than once when I sell the house that, they own together, the divorce house, and then I help each of them find their own house. Right. And so what you're helping, initially that consultation can be really tense, especially when one of them invites you in as the agent and the other one doesn't know you. You can feel that tension, right?
Right.
So we've learned how to navigate that carefully. Ultimately, our job is to take care of everyone. Right. But then you get through that portion, then you go help each of them make a fresh start. What a big deal that is too, right?
Right.
It's like, you've had a road bump in your life, but let's get you into a new house, get you a fresh start, and hopefully everyone kind of heads off to bluer skies from that point on. But being able to navigate those challenging life things with people is such a privilege.
Yeah, we get to be the sacrificial layer as far as like to buffer an already difficult time. It really is, and I've said it before too. Like people, especially in that circumstance, I've been yelled at. I've been and then only to be, hey, sorry for because I understand, right? You can yell at me in these times because I in fact, I would be more concerned if someone was going through hardship and they weren't, if you were able to navigate that with like no like altered mindset whatsoever, I'd be more concerned, right? Like,
and I tell my clients all the time, even on a normal transaction, it's stressful. Buying or selling a home is a big deal. And, I'll tell them, look, you're going to get stressed through this. It could be a roller coaster. It's okay if you freak out. I'm not going to freak out. Because if we both freak out, then we have a problem. I said, so when things get tense, things get stressful, you're worried, call me up, let it out. I'll be a shoulder to cry on. And then I'll calmly get you back on track and steer you through the storm, and we'll get you to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of the privileges of what we do here.
Well, I also love the community that we surround ourselves with as far as just even not just our clients, but other agents and things where through the years and you mentioned before, the relationships that we build and just like the networks that stem from them. So I get a call, shout out to Sid over Cotton Candy Machine over at the Ohio Valley Mall, just from our posts about, go in our office. We need to take a screenshot of our office, but full of pinball machines and arcade games and jukeboxes, things that I renovate, right? But that leads me into a conversation with Sid. Hey, my cotton candy machine is down. I've never worked on a cotton candy machine my entire life, but I have a little bit of knowledge of some of this stuff. So, hey, I go help him out and then, develop a relationship with him.
It also leads to a conversation where I call Johnny and say, hey, man, are we going to make a podcast today? And he says, I'm fixing a cotton candy machine. I'm like, you what?
But we volunteer. Basically, I like in our job as volunteers, we want to help with some of the difficult times.
Sure.
I got a call from Angela Crawford. Shout out to another local agent here, where her daughter had dropped her phone in the Ohio River, right?
And recently.
And I said, hey, low promise that I can actually recover this if you want to lose something, throw it in the river. I'm serious. Once it's in there, it is like practically gone. It's hard to find stuff. But even Jay Davis on her post, it was funny. Another local lender said, call Johnny. He'll just jump in and get it, right? I don't even need a tangle. Just swim down to the bottom and get it. anyways, we go down there, we find it. Just that
So
kind
you
of
actually
stuff.
found it.
We found it.
You jumped in the river.
Jumped in the river.
and
I went
found
scuba
a cell
diving. Yeah, I got my diving gear and went out and
How is that even possible?
well, kind of knew the rough area where it was, and I just started going to the bottom of the river and doing this.
That's insane.
But even the outcry of support during some of the more difficult times, the flooding, you know, how many brokerages, including ours, how many people stepped up? We had no room here for all the donations that we received, right? So just being involved with that and having that ability to network and to help out is like I said, that's one of the most heartwarming parts of the job.
Yeah, it's awesome. One more story I'll share. As we both kind of mature in our careers, we've been at this a while. Maybe we don't have quite as much hair as we started.
No, not me.
We probably should get our headshots redone.
I said mine. We should totally.
We've become the stereotypical agents who don't really look like our headshots anymore.
That's right.
That's all right. Anyway, so the what happens now is I've had multiple occasions where I helped someone buy a home who had little kids, and now I've helped the kids buy a home,
right?
Because they've now grown up and done that, and that's really cool too. In fact, I've got one right now where a seller I had several years ago has a 21-year-old son who was 10 years old when I was helping helping him buy his first house.
That's crazy.
And so it really is.
Yeah.
So anytime you sort of get to that level of your career and you realize that you've impacted this whole family, pretty cool.
One of our newest agents, Justice Robinson, you heard this story,
Yeah.
which is surprising when people are about to hear this. I used to babysit, and not me, but
are we getting old?
I'm saying Justice is in our office, and she didn't know who I was at the time. And then I dropped the bombshell. I was like, I'm kind of slightly hurt that you don't remember.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Oh my God, you're that Johnny." It's like, yeah, that was me.
Well, funny. I'll throw Justice out there for a second too, because she just posted about her mom's birthday, and I realized that I'm not quite old enough, but I'm approaching old enough not to be her dad, but to be her grandfather.
Yeah.
No, wait.
No.
That's true. No, it's not quite. I'm still in my 40s, so I got a little ways to go. Just for another couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite there. But it's like it's dangerously close to that point where it's like it used to be like I could be your dad. It's like I could be your granddad.
Yeah, it's humbling.
Come on, man.
Good Lord. Yeah, I never thought about that, but no, you're right. So
anyway. No, this is fun. I like we sometimes we get down in the rough and tumble in the trenches and fight our way through this business on behalf of our clients. It's nice to share some of the happier stories, the things that really
sure
is going in this, because the one thing that motivates me more than anything else, and I guarantee you're the same in this, is getting the win for my client. And
right.
Sometimes that win is getting them out of a really tough spot. Sometimes it's helping them through a difficult part of their life. Sometimes it's helping them with one of those last transitions from the family home into the condo. But anytime we get to do that, are you tearing up over there?
Yeah, I am. I have it.
Is it? I don't know what. Some dust in here. Yeah. Anyway, we never do this on this podcast.
We never. It's very rare, but no, heartwarming is another one, and then we'll sign off. But your recruitment of me, because I was.
Oh, come on, man.
It really is.
Yeah,
you're gonna start crying. No, but I remember our first relationship when we did one deal together, and I think I had to install a hot water tank to get that to go through, and that was kind of what led to the conversation. And
I thought to myself, this kid's crazy.
Yeah,
bring him on.
But the hive mind, the moral philosophies that we both share without even having, it's an unspoken 100%. Thing. It's always been, if I help people have what they want, we have what we want. There's never been an ounce agreed between us. And I remember when you handed me your first $300,000 potential buyer lead, and like you said, it was a giant leap of faith, but I think we can both say that it turned out.
I'd say it turned out just fine. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, one of the smartest things I ever did.
So I don't know about all that.
Glad I brought you on.
All right. Well, I think it's a good time to possibly wrap up here.
Sure.
As always, social media plug. Follow us on all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, especially on our podcasting networks. We are now live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you get your podcasts. We are pretty much, but we want to grow the Spotify network.
We sure do.
So, all right. Anything else?
That's all I've got.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Rock and roll.